What's going on, everybody? Thanks again for joining me for another BGcast live podcast. It is not Wednesday, it is Thursday today. Uh, and this is a special we're doing, everyone. So I've been kind of talking about this for the past couple of weeks, and this is the BGcast Post Election special. And I wanted to do this for the sheer fact that this was a very interesting experience for all of us. I don't think anybody expected the outcome to be as smooth as it did. I don't think anybody expected it just to happen the way it did. I'm kind of still at a loss for words for it. We all were kind of gearing up for this long, drawn out uh, kind of shit fest, putting a vice grip on the patience of the American people. We all kind of thought this would happen, but nonetheless, what it seems to be right now is we had a quick, speedy victory for Mr. Donald Trump. So we're going to discuss this, our thoughts, this outcome, what this means for our collective, and the solutions we can provide from here on out to potentially kind of pave the way for something better in 2028. I have some people here working with the American Capitalist Party. I have a few of my friends and fellow podcasters who have been on the show before. But real quick, let's start off with that disclaimer. So, disclaimer: the subject matter and the topics that we are going to be discussing tonight on this BGcast post-election special are for entertainment purposes only. So, all right, guys. So let's start off with introductions here. We have Mr. Josh Urban, who has been on the show a couple times before. What's up, man? Thank you for joining me tonight.
I'm glad to be here. It's always nice to get back on with you, especially we have a couple people on tonight. It'd be nice to bounce around ideas. In terms of who I am, lately I've just been collecting information, been backing it up after we had the Internet Archive go down for about a week. That set off
Mhm.
alarm bells in my mind. The way that I view that is that information is going to become scarce soon. So it's
Mhm.
smart to just have as much information as you can find. And I mean, in doing that, if you kind of summarize it, look through it, you'll find more questions than answers. Usually, you'll
I
find more questions than answers.
I'm with you on that, man. And you're doing a lot of good for the community, and I appreciate you, dude. You know that, and I can't tell you that enough, man. And so next we have up Mr. Freeman and Mrs. Sneath. Freeman has been on the show before. Sneath has not. She made a brief guest appearance vocally on the last one when I was talking with Freeman, and she wanted to come sit down here with us tonight. They are working with Mark Pellegrino and the American Capitalist Party. You guys remember I had Mark here on the show. So they have some good solutions to bring to the table tonight. How are you guys doing?
Live and breathing. Uh, just happy to be a part of this little group and panel. Really looking forward to the conversation and discussion. Really hoping to reach all possible ears and receive all kinds of ideas that we can take and move forward, because the duopoly doesn't work and it's falling apart right in front of us. And an amazing dumpster fire that will light the marshmallows of my s'mores.
I like that, man. I like that. We can burn it down and have a steak dinner while we watch it burn. I like that idea. Alrighty, guys. We have Mr. Andrew Lordson from Heavyweights Light Feels. What is up, man? It's good to have you back on. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing really well. Thank you, Stephen, for hosting. Thank you for inviting me. I just want to start off real quick and just say justice for Peanut. That story has particularly saddened me because I love animals. I love nature. And if you don't know what happened, the story of Peanut the squirrel, you must be living under a rock. But ultimately, that is one just perfect example of why I believe the state is immoral, why we as humans, if we ever want to evolve, we need to actually update our sovereignty. We need to strive for a stateless society. And when we reach that point, that's when we will collectively evolve, I believe. Um, and I don't mean that in like the commie Marxist sort of way. I believe anarchism, specifically anarcho capitalism, is the most moral path we can take to provide humans with sovereignty, dignity, and yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for being here, and of course, one of my favorite guests, my good friend Chris Matthew.
Hola! Hey, Stephen. Thanks for having me on the panel. Hello, everyone. Honored to be here. I am host and producer of Forbidden Knowledge News, creator of Forbidden Knowledge Network, filmmaker. I am for entertainment purposes only. I'm definitely here for entertainment purposes only, but I am all about the solutions. So I am looking forward to hearing you guys' ideas and maybe sharing some of my own strange things that bounce around in my mind. So we're going to have a good time.
I love it, man. I love it. Yes, a good time. And then we do have my good friend and previous guest, Miss Rachel Sunshine. What is up? Thanks for being here tonight. How are you doing?
I'm good. How's everybody doing? I'm looking forward to this. Thanks for having me on, Stephen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just a psychopath about hating the government. Totally agree with Chris and Andrew and Urban and Alex and Sneath. I'm looking forward to finding a good solution to what the hell is going on here. So hopefully we can figure that out tonight.
Awesome. And I did have Ryder Lee here. I don't know if he had to hop off for a sec, but he will be back, hopefully. So, alrighty, guys. So the big topic for tonight, as we're all aware of, we know that Trump won the election. It happened a lot faster and a lot more smoothly than we did expect. A lot of us kind of had the expectation in our minds that we were going to be looking at something long and drawn out. And again, I feel like this was maybe I can't prove this. Don't get me wrong, but I feel in a lot of ways they monitor this collective, and they look at our reactions and they look at our theories somehow, and they always like to flip the script on us, So we were all kind of expecting this shit show fiasco scenario, that was going to unfold. I'm not saying we're not going to get that at some point. I mean, there's a lot of people who do believe the Democrats are trying to stage a violent government coup. There already are protests occurring. Yep, and so who knows what we're going to be looking at coming up towards January 6th on Inauguration Day. It could get interesting even then. So what we're going to do right now, guys, is I'm going to go around the room and let's start off with Urban because he is directly to my right. Urban, let's get your thoughts and your opinion on the outcome. I know you brought it up briefly before the show, but if you don't mind rehashing that would be awesome for me, man.
So my opinions on the results of the election, when I had been studying what was going on and leading up to the election, I thought there would be a little bit more chaos than there ended up being. I was very much under the impression that the election would be delayed, at least by a day, maybe two, nothing crazy, but that there would be a little bit of a delay. That way, if the subtle tricks that were happening out in the different states didn't work, that they would have time to take control over the results. But the way that I view this is that it was pretty clear cut. It happened pretty easily. There was not much of a delay. There wasn't much issue with it. It happened very quickly. So what that either tells me is that there was an overwhelming majority of turnout that led to it being an overwhelming victory, or more likely that it was set up to be that way. Because if you take a little bit of a look at the numbers are pretty average. I mean, it was nothing like 2020, but both campaigns had run very extreme elections, and I say that on both sides. The right, the left, the Democrats, the Republicans. On both sides, they've kind of went towards extremes that they've never been to before. The rhetoric that was used, the techniques that were used, the tricks that were used, that we know of, are some of the most extreme that have ever been done in political elections. So I was a bit surprised, but as always, I ask questions. So the way that I'm looking at this is, what questions should we be asking about the way that this is going? Is this a little bit too smooth? Are people reacting a little bit differently than they normally would? I think we should, at the end of the day, people now are tempted to stop asking questions. They want to celebrate. They want to say, okay, we won. The game's over. Don't believe the game is over. The game is not over until it's over, and it's definitely not over yet. So we need to continue asking questions. We need to continue, at the very least, holding the government accountable. That's what our role as citizens are. Doesn't matter if you're on the left, doesn't matter if you're on the right. As citizens, people who don't serve in the government, people who don't hold office, we're compelled to question the government and hold them accountable. And that's what we need to continue doing. So I'll turn it over to the next person.
I think that's it. That's good, man, because that is it seems like it's the elephant in the room that we're dealing with right now, and that's why I've almost said that in a lot of ways I feel like we're not dealing with cognitive dissonance anymore. We're dealing with some kind of hypnosis, and of course that's just my opinion.
Absolutely.
I can't necessarily prove that, but when we're looking at how a lot of people are acting in the American collective today, when it comes to both sides of the bipartisan spectrum, we're almost seeing like this hero worship kind of occur, this idolatry.
Absolutely.
It's almost, yes. I mean, we even talked about that with, when Trump got shot and everybody wearing the bandage on the ear. It was almost like a cult-like mentality. So definitely good sum up, my friend. So let's get to Freeman and Sneath. What are your thoughts on this outcome? I have got to hear it from you two.
Well, I agree with a lot of what Urban said. I think that both sides ran some pretty extreme campaigns this time around, and you hear a lot of the same rhetoric every 4 years, right? It's the most important. The world will end if you don't vote for this particular candidate. But at the end of the day, I really think why we saw such a massive victory for Donald Trump is because America does not want socialism. At the heart of it, America made it very clear that it was not on board with Kamala's lack of economic understanding. They were not on board for higher taxes. And over the last 4 years, our country has really been hurting financially. Prices of everything are up, and that has been a huge voter concern, one of the most important voter concerns this time around. Do I necessarily think that things are going to get better under a Trump administration? Not really, because Trump is proposing his own tariffs, which are going to hurt the American voter in their own ways. Prices are still going to go up on certain items. We all know how this works. These corporations pass the cost off to the consumer. They get rid of staff, unemployment's going to go up. So I don't necessarily think that it's necessarily going to be better. I just think it's not going to be as bad as it would have been under Kamala's administration. And I think honestly and truly, Americans they really chose the lesser evil. What they felt was the lesser evil economically. I mean, the two top important issues were economics and immigration. And so Trump has been very firm on immigration, for better or worse. And with the economics being the most important, Trump, his way's a little bit safer. He's proposing something that's not as extreme as what Kamala has been promoting. And really, she ran this whole campaign on, we're going to give first-time business owners all this money. We're going to give people, loans they don't necessarily have to pay back. They're forgivable loans. We're going to give first-time home buyers. But the American people are not stupid, right? They understand that money comes from somewhere, and where it's coming from is their pocket. So I really think that he had the edge over Kamala in the campaign area, especially when he's got Elon Musk on board. Elon Musk has done fabulous things for X. He has made it more efficient. He's cut all the fat out. And so that was a big running point for him as well. That's my take. What is your take?
My take is that, and Stephen, we discussed this on the last show, and I'm sticking to my guns on this one. the American people didn't really have a choice. It was a knife or a bullet.
Gotcha, man. And I agree. I agree with you on that. It was. I definitely resonate with what you said too, Sneeth. It was definitely really a choice of the lesser two evils at this point. We're looking at two evils, and which one is going to be a somewhat better outcome for us. I mean, I was even talking with Chris, like, I have a saying, I said we've been in apocalypse when, so like that's kind of the saying. I've been in I was saying that if Kamala were to have gotten in, we probably would have moved towards apocalypse, maybe. But it seems like we're going to be potentially dealing with another 4 years of apocalypse when. So, like, I mean, that's not exactly the worst thing in the world. So I definitely resonate with what you guys are saying. Oh, well, we got somebody who wants to join. Maybe I will send Charlie the link here in a little bit. Charlie, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate it. Let's get on to Rachel. Rachel, what are your thoughts about this outcome?
Well, I guess I'm just going to say sorry, guys. I was wrong off the bat. Maybe I was a little too optimistic and hoping that they would pull the trigger. And I truly did not believe that we would have an election here in 2024. I thought that they were going to not have it and install martial law. So my bad for that. My second hope was that Donald Trump was going to win by a landslide, but I don't think it's just the economy that people are an indictment against. There is a literal mandate, in my belief, against the media. The media has lied so profusely about Donald Trump, and they have done everything to basically criminalize half of the country. So if you believe in Donald Trump and what he wants to do to cut government spending, to stop corruption, et cetera, which I don't. The pedophiles, the creepy pedophiles won the election, you guys. They win every election. But that's besides the point. I don't think that we are going to get 4 years. I still think that they're going to pull the trigger. I think that the world elite, they're useful idiots. They're all going to continue banding together. I feel a sense of panic and calm almost, where it's like that you're in the eye of the storm. Basically, everybody's just really, really quiet, but you can see the seething underneath for the people who actually didn't get the outcome that they wanted to. Like, if you look at the Drudge Report, the world is in shock. The world is not in shock. The world is only in shock because the media has been lying to them about the American people, about Republicans, about Donald Trump for 4 years. I mean, that is incredible. Plus, so it's not just the economy. It's actually like, who the hell are you to tell me that I'm a Nazi, that I'm garbage, that I'm dangerous, that I'm a criminal, just because I don't want the government to keep stealing from me? That is literally absurd. And we're at this breaking point where we're eventually going to be, hopefully, in a stateless society. Everybody hasn't imagined that a stateless society is going to be some horrible thing, but I actually agree. Is it Andrew? I agree with him. We're going to have a period of rapid enlightenment after we have a stateless society and everybody realize, holy crap, we don't need $100 trillion stolen from us from a bunch of criminals. This is awesome. And then our brains are going to open up. It's going to be amazing. So who knows? That's my hope, but I don't think we have 4 years of apocalypse when. I think that they're going to do something again within these next 4 years.
I'm with you. No, and that's a very big possibility too. I mean, it's there's always the chance that there could be a what you would call a rapid awakening. One thing I have noticed over the course of the last 4 years, there are a lot more people who are starting to become aware, and that's a fantastic thing. The only thing I feel that is working against us at that point in time is now that the conspiracy culture has become mainstream. It's now they can keep people trapped in what I would call almost the surface level aspect of it, because they now it's accepted. Like, you have this mob mentality thing that comes into play too. So I think that's an optimistic outlook, and I dig it, Rachel. So let's go to Mr. Chris Matthew. What are your thoughts on everything right now? I've got to hear this.
Oh man. Well, again, I am here strictly for entertainment purposes only. I don't really follow politics, but I've heard a few times already during this discussion the lesser of two evils. And how sad is it that we, not myself, but those that go out and vote are forced to choose between a lesser of two evils, two parasites that are still part of the ruling class. And from my observations from throughout history, that it really doesn't matter. We're still going to have the same essential outcome in the long run, no matter what Muppet, blue or red, is in that office. And, I asked myself earlier, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Now, I checked out of politics a long time ago, became jaded. I don't know what the answer is. I'm more of a spiritual person. I look into paranormal, occult, it's conspiracy theories, and I have fun with it. And I consider many different possibilities, but I don't pay attention to this divisive theatrics that we're subjected to as an illusion of choice. And that's all it is to me. And it's very sad that people have been so sucked into this year's election cycle, and they've lost friends, lost family, been so divided over this ridiculous nonsense. But I will say that most of the country was pushed because on the left there is an insane ideology that has forced people to, like you said, choose between the lesser of two evils. And I'm all about discussing possibilities for how to rebuild in the future, because all I can see is that if we're ever going to take back any level of sovereignty, the current system we're under has to have a level of failure to where it is allowed for people who aren't in a certain club to be able to get into certain positions of office. And until that happens, I'm not sure what the solution is. So that's why I'm here. I'm looking forward to hearing some of you guys' solutions. My solution is personal accountability. I think that that's what this whole era of humanity is about, ever since 2020 especially. I think that we are being shown how ridiculous everything is, so we can choose to opt out of it, pull up our big boy pants, take some personal accountability, and not say I'm going to be happy or I'm going to thrive because this Muppeter is in office, or that Muppet is in office, and there's no way that I'll be happy or I'll make money or this or that because that person is fucking president. It just never made sense to me. No matter who is in office, I managed to find success in my life and happiness. So I think if I've been able to do that, that means probably everyone else can. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have some sort of governmental system. Maybe we shouldn't, but who knows? I don't have those kind of answers. I have the people kind of answers, the more emotional, spiritual kind of answers. I know how to treat people. I know how to treat people around me. I know how to live in a society and treat the planet correctly. So those basic fundamentals I can talk about, but as far as how to rule over a society, I am fucking clueless. So what do you guys
I love
think?
it. I love it, Chris. I love it, man. And that's also, I love what you just said too. It's the personal accountability. If we, whatever direction we choose to move forward in as a collective, That's number one. It's about responsibility, and it is about personal accountability. We have to pull up our big boy pants and our big girl pants, in the sense that we have to be more involved in what's going on. We have to, I think one of the biggest things that happens with our American collective is a lot of the consensual public has been so okay with other people doing the thinking for them, doing the speaking for them. Okay. Basically signing over their brain to other people to do all of this for them. And it's really going to take a hone in on that personal philosophy, that personal accountability, in order for us to move forward. I'm a huge believer that we need to push the path of the good person back into the front of our societal norms. And that is the first step that we definitely need to take. So, guys, welcome Mr. Black Pill Phil, Kyle Parker Lewis to the room. We're just going on our rounds, man. We are discussing our thoughts on the outcome. Chris just got done. I'm going to move to Andrew, and then I'm going to move to you, man. How's that sound?
I'm in. I thought it was 6:15 on my end where I had to jump in. I was like, but I'm not sure. Time zone, all that confusion, stuff like that. But yeah, I just jumped in. I missed out on a whole lot of stuff.
No worries, man. No worries. We'll get you up to speed. Mr. Andrew, what are your thoughts on everything right now?
So first of all, I want to say I'm actually thankful that Trump won. And it's kind of sad that we live in a world where I made that comment to one of my coworkers who I thought was politically indifferent, and he got very triggered. Turns out he hates Trump. And I want to circle back to that point in a minute. I haven't always loved him. I have an arc of learning to appreciate him. I don't think he is a savior by any means. I think he wants to leave a legacy where he is seen as a benevolent oligarch. And I use that word oligarch very intentionally. I believe with the people he has surrounded himself with and his desire to leave that legacy, he is going to enact measures that will ultimately slow down the World Economic Forum, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, their efforts to usher in the new world order. I don't think he's going to stop them, but I think if he slows them down, that will give us time to work out the solutions that we need. And so that's why I'm ultimately thankful that he won. I think the reason that it was as clean as it was is because Kamala was just that effing bad. She was terrible. There was no way they could convince the public that she won. And he did just enough. I was expecting to see 100 million votes for him in the popular. That didn't happen, but he did enough. And I want to bring up a point that Rachel had made, how we're kind of in the eye of the storm. I completely agree. Stephen, I have heard you talk about the Hegelian dialectic, and that's where now the cabal is at. They are asking themselves, how can they flip the dialectic? And Chris, you actually provided their answer. They're going to mobilize their useful idiots on the left to engage in civil disruption, societal destabilization. We have to fight the Marxists. And I know that's crazy to say. That is so crazy. People think I'm crazy. And I don't even think at the top, this is the point that people don't realize. At the very tippy top, they're not actually Marxists. They're just power-seeking, evil fucking people. But that ideology, it is just a poison that we need to defeat. And then once we defeat that, and we're not going to totally eradicate it, but we need to turn the tide. We need to turn the tide away from that dirty, disgusting ideology. And so with that being said, I look forward to when we get to the solutions section. I'm going to start making some notes on what solutions we can bring. But I think right now, while we have a little bit of calm, we need to try and coalition build. We need to de-radicalize as many people as we can, even though people think we're radicals. I think we're pretty radical in the cool sense, but we're not ideologically insane. Most of us are pretty normal people. But that's the brainwashing, that's the propaganda, that's the media apparatus that has stolen our friends and family. And while we have this window, hopefully we can bring a few of them along. And I'll let Black Pill. I'm done. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thanks for that, man. No, and I'm with you on the coalition building. We've talked about that on our shows before. It's de-radicalizing a lot of people from what I would call this hypnosis that is occurring. We have Mr. Josh, White Pill Josh, who just joined us too. What is up, man?
Hey, long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see, bro. No, long time no see. So no, I agree with you, Andrew. This is the time where I resonate with what you're saying, because we have more time to lay this groundwork. I mean, we have Sneath and Freeman working on the American Capitalist Party. We have Urban basically creating these giant libraries of all this information that they're wiping from the internet. We have Chris doing his. I mean, I think all of us are doing really good things at this point in time. So we have Rachel writing articles for newspapers. I mean, like, dude, this is we're doing what we need to do. So I like that, Andrew. I really agree with that. All righty, Mr. Black Pill Phil, to give yourself a little, you've been on the show before, but give yourself a quick introduction, man, if you don't mind. And let's talk about your thoughts on this outcome. I am very interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so I'm the host of Sunglasses After Dark. White Pill Josh is my co-host. D is in the bedroom trying to heal up. She's the one who runs the board. So we've been on absence for a little bit, few months actually, trying to heal up. A lot of medical shit's taking place just because, the shed. If we want to delve into that later, that's fine too. But my thoughts on everything that's happened, it still feels controlled to me. I'm still standing in the quarter idly by, just wondering, is it real? Is it fake and gay? I'm not sure. There's I see, this is just leading up to it. Sorry to get into a little bit of a long run here, but I noticed things right before the election where, right before the Mar-a-Lago shit happened with the attempted assassination. Whether you believe in it or not, that's whatever. But I noticed that, he talked about doing a temporary cap on interest rates for credit cards. And I'm like, oh, that's exciting. That's pretty exciting. And it just seemed like, with that in mind, and then the potential assassination, and then after the attempted assassination, that he went up on stage. He had some tiny hats behind him. So it was kind of like, I don't know what the fuck just happened here. But he, I know when he's talking about credit card interest rates and, all of a sudden, then he's calling out the Jews saying, if you don't vote for me, you don't, paraphrasing here, that you don't have a brain in your head, basically. And I'm like, man, it just seems like he said too much. I think he uncovered too much. And yet, and then he's threatening anybody who is out there talking shit about Jews or talking shit about the Orthodoxy. So that just told me right there, I'm like, he's still fucking controlled. He's still controlled by foreign interest or the big J's and the Saudis. And all that shit it's Bush. It's still Bush. It's still Bush to me. I'm not calling it communism or Marxism or anything like that. I'm calling it as it still feels like it's controlled. And I don't think there's a way out of this. He's partnered up with Christian Zionists. And he's adhering to them. He has masters. This isn't like, just some blah, blah, New World Order shit. There are real people behind all this shit. The real people that fucking control him. And I want it to be real. I want all this shit to be real in the sense of, we finally got away from this fucking central bank digital currency constructed World Economic Forum, brain-headed, weird technocratic communist state. I still think I don't think we're getting out of this. I think it's going to be maneuvered. It's going to be perceived as, it's going to be perceived as good. Whatever they're going to offer to the table is going to be perceived as good by the majority of his supporters. And I still think he's going to be working with the World Economic Forum just because his head campaign advisor is Susie Wiles. She's got mass connections to the World Economic Forum. There's no splitting away from this. Like, if he really truly wants our trust within this community, he's got to break away from all that shit. If he wants to be a true populist and keep everything here at home and protect the home front here, he's got to break away from all that shit. And I just don't see it happening. I just don't. It's a wait and see for sure. I don't want to be an absolutist, but I still think that there's going to be a lot of, how did Charlie Robinson put it? It's controlled demolition. There's still going to be events in the controlled demolition before they bring up a new system. And that multipolar world order that he spoke of like a couple months ago, I think that's going to take place. It's there's going to be less power within the world banking system. There's going to be, I still think there will be CBDCs. I still think there will be like a Western bank front controlled, but for the most part, I think it's kind of like just lurking in the background more than being at the forefront that they are right now, because the BRIC system is in place. And
real quick, Kyle, I don't want to cut you off, but in the private chat, they were Freeman and Sneath just informed me, and Urban kind of backed this up too, that Susie is now his chief of staff. I guess it was just reported.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I know. But I'm with you.
Is this a new position? Is this a new position, or is this? Because I thought she was just as like head of campaign, but if she's chief of staff, then we're stuck. We're in it. We're still in the shit. We're still in it.
Oh yeah.
After
she's the first woman chief of staff. So sorry, ladies, you didn't get to be president this time, but you know what? You can be the first chief of staff. That's what happened here today.
I'm telling you, but I'm with you, Kyle. Like, I see the struggle, and it's that's why I try to keep myself. I see a lot of people, especially in our community, they fall back into the attachment and the everything that's going on. So I think you got a good head on your shoulders for just keeping that, that kind of third party objective stand back, and you're just kind of being patient. So I got to say you're.
I'm just observing at all times.
Yeah.
I'm observing at all times. I don't want to be an absolutist, even though I've talked some of my shit already this week where I am being absolutist, that he is controlled. It's just far too long. I've been witnessing this shit, and I refuse. I'm being fucking stubborn about falling in line with their game plan. And I know I'm probably going to die before it's all, comes to fruition. That's fine. At least I won't be here for it. Maybe partially for it, but
I got you, man. I understand.
It's not looking good from my view, from my lenses.
I feel you. All right, Mr. White Pill. You haven't been on BGcast in a little, man. It's good to see you again. And well, let's get your little brief intro for you and your thoughts, and then we're moving to solutions, guys. And I'm going to let Chris go first because he said he might have to hop off when we get to the solutions. And then I'm going to go to Freeman and Sneath because they have something very cool in the works. I think could definitely be a potential alternative for what we're dealing with right now. And they've been working on the American Capitalist Party and working on its policies and trying to move it into a better place. They've been doing a great job. So Josh, let's go ahead and get a little brief intro from you. And then let's get your opinion on this outcome.
Sure, sure. I'm Josh. I'm 37 years old, happily taken, and I'm into some pretty kinky things, so the invite's still open. So, no, but co-host of Sunglasses After Dark as well, and I agree for the most part with Black Pill. I feel like something is off here. This whole election was way too easy. This was way, 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 way too easy. It's almost like somebody like called up in the middle of the rig and was just like, "Yeah, no, we're pulling the plug on it." The other weird thing that I've noticed too is like I'm seeing a lot of people like coming out of the woodworks and they're like, "Hey, by the way, yeah, that Project 2025, yeah, we were joking," and it's just like, um, uh, uh, are we rolling with this or are we not? Like, what? It, I don't even know where the hell we stand anymore. But what has me it's refreshing to see Trump in office because it's almost like getting to the action-packed part of the story. It's like finally the fucking plot's moving forward a little bit here. At least there's some sort of resolution happening. And it's just one of those things where it's just like we're already seeing all these world leaders doing certain things. We're already seeing, certain economic policies starting to shift around in anticipation for Trump. And it some of it's looking great, some of it's looking fantastic. It's like, man, I don't want to die in World War fucking three. Granted, I'm out of the draft age, but still, after seeing what's going on out in Ukraine, where they're just kidnapping old men off the streets to fucking go, die in their bloodbath over there. It's just like, dude, it can happen over here. If they're willing to kill Peanut the squirrel, they're willing to come after you, you know. And I mean, that's the thing is it's just like I'm seeing some good policies put into motion here and I want to be optimistic. I really do. I'm like, oh man, a fatter fucking paycheck, yes, but I also know how tariffs really work here, and I know that at the end of the day there's a good chance that we're going to be paying for those tariffs instead of China or whatever. China's just going to mark up their prices, Mexico's just going to mark up their prices, and ultimately that fatter paycheck that we're getting from being able to keep more of our money, well, that's just going to get absolved into those higher prices right there. But the thing that has me concerned though is again, Black Pill and I, we've been going down some really deep fucking rabbit holes, and it's just like, dude, every single time we turn a corner, it's like we're confronted with this mountain of evidence, and it's just there's so much shit there that has to be confirmed on a personal level. It's information overload. So it's just like take for example everything in
Yeah.
the Talmud, the Judeo Talmud. It's just like, dude, trying to sit here and like research all that. Do I know if that's the accurate translation of this? Is this correct? Is what they're saying actually factual? Like the information overload that's happened within the last couple of months on the internet is fucking insane. But every single time we keep going down this rabbit hole, we keep ending up in the same spot. And it's interesting to see what's going on. My eyes right now are on Israel. I, Trump's in office. All right, what the fuck ever. All eyes right now are on Israel because I need to see what the hell they're doing. They're the guys that are crazy enough to enact something like the Samson option. They're the guys that are crazy enough to take a small little
There
army
we
and
go.
stretch it so fucking thin that now they're calling in foreigners to fight for them. During the whole North Carolina thing, I'm sitting here hearing stories about how these U.S. military members are being told, sorry, you can't leave the base or you can't go home to go check in on your family. We need you on standby because Israel might be getting hit by Iran and we need you to go die for them. And it's just like, this isn't our fucking fight. This is not our shit. But to see that Israel is over here, like bringing in all these other people, I'm hearing that there's Indians in Israel fighting for the IDF. I'm even hearing now that there's another attempt at some sort of civil unrest in Israel because Benjamin Netanyahu shit canned, I think, one of his defense ministers or some shit like that. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, dude,
Yeah.
Israel looks like it's suicidal at the moment. I think they know something that we don't. And they're like, you know what? We have to start fulfilling these biblical prophecies ASAP before it's too late. I mean, I'm hearing shit about that. I'm hearing shit about how there's an object that's been noticed up in space. and everyone, and as far as the mainstream media is going, hey, it's just going to whiz past us. It's just going to whiz past us. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. And I'm hearing from independent sources, people that are like looking up into the sky for fun, shits and giggles. They're pulling up software and they're like, dude, no, this object is like twice the size you said it was, and on top of that, it's on a trajectory to circle twice. And from what everyone's saying is, if it circles twice, that's it. It's hitting. So I'm like sitting here and I'm like, dude, I think somebody knows something that they're not telling anybody. And I think something is going on where they're trying to expedite something, they're trying to speed up something. And I think honestly, at the end of the day, they were probably like, you know what? I will tell you this right now. If Kamala Harris won, if Kamala Harris won and Israel got into deep shit, and Israel picks up the phone and says, hey, we need troops over here ASAP, no one is going to go fight that war. All of my homies that are in the military are all sitting there telling me, no, dude, we're not going to go die for fucking Israel. Hell no. That's not our fight. We were there several times. We didn't do dick. We ain't doing it now. Fuck them. Not our fight. But you get Donald Trump in office, and then all of a sudden that good old boy out in Oklahoma is sitting there like, well, Trump's my president, and Trump ain't going to lead me astray. Well, I'm going to go fight with the Israelis, and I'm going to go out here and I'm going to embolden my Christian cross, and I'm going to go on that crusade. You get out there and you got the Jews pissing on you, you're spitting on you, you're just a fucking meat puppet to them.
Yes.
I understand. I understand your sentiments, man. I do think there is something going on that there is something that nobody's telling us. I agree. It's always the sleight of hand. It's always there's always something on the back end, man. So I agree with you. I think that's a good observation. All right, guys, let's move into solutions. I'm gonna have Chris kind of take the stand on this first, and then we'll move to Freeman and Sneath, and then we'll move to Rachel, and we'll kind of like bounce back and forth, and we'll find this good rhythm. Everything's been going pretty good so far. So, Chris, one of the biggest things that you and I resonate on, man, is we need to. This is as far as I would say, maybe not a political solution, but more of a collective societal solution on how that we need to kind of push the path of the good person to the forefront of our societal norms. I am a huge believer, and we've talked about this before, that the path for truth, the path for freedom, it should walk hand in hand with some kind of spiritual path. Of course, that's just my opinion. If the spiritual path is not for you, at least at minimum, the path of the good person. And I think that needs to be kind of pushed to the forefront, because what we see a lot in our society today is we see a lot of the dark triad psychological traits, such as sociopathy, psychopathy, narcissism. They are put on a pedestal in American society. And I think we need to kind of take them off of a pedestal, and we need to bring back things as, civil discourse. We need to bring back like I said, the path of the good person, all of us being a little bit better towards each other as people. So I kind of want to hear in your minds, at least, because I know you have strayed away from the politics. Let's talk, social solutions that we can kind of do to start to band us together and make us a little bit more unified as an American collective. Chris, your mic.
That would help. All right. Okay. So, Stephen, thanks again for having me on the panel. I will probably have to take off after this. As far as solutions, I can really only offer what works for me in my life. And like I said earlier, I've never let what Muppet is in a presidential position affect my happiness or my success in life. And that's never going to change. But it's like I said earlier, I think it is about accountability. It's about taking back your personal accountability. If I would have to offer solutions for anything outside of my own life and, offering what I've done, which is taking care of, myself spiritually and emotionally, and having a foundation to where it's easier for me to navigate some of the madness going on. And again, I look outside and I don't see that the world is as bad as it's portrayed in the media and on social media. If I had to offer a solution for politics, I think that every person running for an office should have multiple doses of high powerful psychedelics before even considering running for office, because most likely they'd decide that it's bullshit and wouldn't even participate, or they might have their shit sorted out enough to not be a parasite when it comes to the position that they're in. But other solutions may be, if you feel like you can contribute, run for a local office. Maybe put your talents and your ideas up and offer them up in a position that you might be able to run for or achieve. And other than that, I would just say that we need compassion. I think we need to at least consider other people's ideas, and at the least be understanding and compassionate when it comes to considering other people's ideas. And there's a lot of identity politics and identity bullshit, and maybe we should just start identifying as human beings. That may start to solve a few fucking problems. But that's what I'm going to leave you with. Thank you again, Steven. Thank you, everyone. Everyone have a wonderful night.
You too, Chris. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it so much, man. You have yourself a good night, and enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm actually really looking forward to hearing from Sneath and Freeman at this point in time. They have been working with Mark Pellegrino and the American Capitalist Party. If you guys have not checked out the ACP, I highly recommend you do. I do see it as a possible solution to what we're dealing with right now in this bipartisan illusion. It's I don't know if anybody saw my show with Mark. We kind of dived deep into his thoughts. We kind of went a little bit into the policies of the ACP, and I know Freeman and Sneath have been working with him and helping update these policies and kind of reworking some things. So I'm really interested to hear what you two have been doing with Mark and how everything's going on with the American Capitalist Party.
Thank you so very much. It's a little exciting, a little stressful. Today is the official launch day of the website, AmericanCapitalistParty.org. All of our policies, et cetera, are up there and listed. Most all of them. Still working on a couple. But content-heavy site that's going to be generated or populated over the next couple of weeks and months with hot takes on where the ACP stands on particular issues and what's happening on a day-to-day level, like women dying in Texas for medical reasons that shouldn't happen. And all of this stems from objectivist philosophies, strictly grounded in an idea of individual rights, individual sovereignty, and, as Chris aptly said, personal accountability. And it stems from that, with a full understanding that there is this particular system that all of us seem to have issue with, and it's a duopoly system. And as this particular election has solidified, or is about to solidify, I think the current House count is 210 to 196, and we're still 8 points away from a full red monopoly of the operations of the government. We're looking for something to break up those monopolies. It, as the name says, believes in capitalism. It believes in a more laissez-faire capitalism. That's fundamental to the course of personal interaction and individual exchange and the production of goods, etc. But one thing that it does not agree with is monopoly and a consolidation of resources and power to such an extent that it cuts off everyone else from being able to achieve the same. And that's not just in economics, that's in politics as well. And one thing that is absolutely sorely lacking in the electoral system as it stands right now is where everybody has this illusion of choice, right? I think someone mentioned that earlier. There's absolutely no possibility of a right to refuse and or a refusal choice. And the third parties that exist currently are, especially in this particular election, have been really sad examples of what third parties should be and why pluralist electoral systems exist. And the American Capitalist Party is working to build larger coalitions of free thinking individuals that think similarly in order to really challenge and break down at the local level, at the state level, and at the national level this now monopoly that the RNC has that perhaps other voices across the country might have a chance to finally skip the brainwashing and think for themselves and act independently.
Well, and for my part, I really feel that the American Capitalist Party is a party that everybody can get behind. It's not a party that excludes people based off of religion. Now, granted, this is very much of a get religious undertones and overtones out of politics. This is strictly a representative republic sort of laissez-faire capitalism system that 100% supports individual rights, believes the government's only business is in the defense of those rights. Beyond that, the government has no business telling you how to live your life, has no business telling you who you can love, has no business telling you how your children should be educated and what they should be educated. So it really is a system that supports everybody where they're at. I know that a lot of people in the activist community, I've heard it a few times tonight, want a stateless solution. I would object that we need a stateless solution because we do face foreign aggressors. We do have foreign enemies. And we do need to have a government that can defend its citizens. I think we would all agree that the government we have right now is bullshit and it has to go. But a government that acts only to protect individual rights, I think we can all get on board with. I know a lot of people want to, again, they just want to live their life. I think we have a lot of common goals here. Everybody on the panel, I think we have a lot of common goals. The issue is I think a lot of people are waiting for a solution to fall out of the sky. I think a lot of people are afraid to take those first steps into the unknown. But we've reached a point where nobody's coming to save us. And that comes back to personal responsibility, personal accountability. Nobody's coming to save us. It's up to us to fix this. And complacency is what led us to this point. Complacency allowed us to be complicit in what's happening right now. Our silence was their consent. So we need to change that, and we need to start finding where our interests intersect so that we can come together and support each other in the goals that we have. Laissez-faire capitalism, if you believe in individual rights, if you believe that government should only be limited to the protection of those rights, we can work together. You support us, we support you, we can work together. And as I will say, as far as reframing and I wouldn't say that they're necessarily completely rewritten because the idea is the same and the message is the same. But I think that the revised versions of the policies go into much better detail and are easier to understand for the average American that goes to the site. And Mark did the lion's share of that. He was up late and he's got a busy schedule. He was up late making sure that the message was clear and consistent across the board. So he's been fabulous in making sure that everything that needs to be in there is in there. And the new website, we have an amazing guy who has been working on that, making it interactive. I know Mark is going to be a speaker at LibertyCon this year, and we're both going to be down there supporting and educating about the American Capitalist Party. So I really feel like this party is something we can all get behind. This party is something that supports us individually and our personal agendas. And I really feel that it stands apart, especially from the libertarians who've had, it was really disappointing to see the Libertarian Party this cycle, that are kind of abstract, right? The libertarians kind of have some abstract point of views. They're not really solid in their foundations. And I really think we saw that this election cycle when they abandoned their own candidate. They abandoned him in favor of Trump, who is historically a dishonest individual who promised them certain he promised them certain things.
He
right?
tossed carrots out there.
He tossed carrots out there, and they fell for it. And I think that is a prime example of what happens when you're not on solid ideological ground, when you don't have clear-cut positions. You're easy to abandon them. And this party is completely different from that. It is rooted in reason. It is rooted in logic. And it is rooted in the idea of government not interfering with your life. I don't know how to say it any clearer, but just rights defense only. So I feel that this is a viable solution. And the both of us, we're not going to involve ourselves if it's not something that could potentially work.
Oh, 100%. And I've known you two for years now. And I agree. I think what you two are doing is awesome. And what I personally feel is it could most certainly be a happy medium, because one, you guys were talking about the fear of the unknown, the stepping into this unknown territory. And I do feel that one of the reasons the American Collective has continuously tried to shove a square peg into a circle hole for many, many years at this point is it's because it is all they know, and there is a basis of fear when it comes to stepping outside into something different than has been a habit and a norm. And I do agree in a lot of ways we have been kind of playing insanity just a little bit when it comes to this bipartisan illusion that we are all kind of dealing with at this point in time. So, I think you guys are doing amazing work. I mean, you two have been on it, and you guys have been like really pushing it. And I look forward to LibertyCon too. And that's good. Yeah, that's going to be a very cool thing. So let's hop on to Rachel, because I know Rachel has some solutions in mind. Let's hear what she thinks would be some good next steps. I mean, Rachel has already been fighting small town government down in the town of Pagosa Springs, and she has been succeeding in fighting this very corrupt small town government down there. So I'm sure she has a lot of interesting ideas that we can kind of work with. And the number one thing I want to say, just bouncing off of Sneath real quick, we all do have a very common goal here. And we all want freedom. We all want bodily autonomy. We don't want to be told what to do with our personal lives, and we want to live in a freer place. And we have to take this personal accountability, and we have to step forward, and we have to have responsibility as people on an individual level. And then we can move forward, and that will help affect us in a sense collectively, because that's one thing I do agree with what Mark says. When we better ourselves as the individual, we do ultimately help better the society that we're in. So that I agree with 100%. So Rachel, let's hear what you have to say.
Okay, thanks. My nickname's Made in Anarchy, so I just want to say first and foremost, I can't necessarily agree with any type of group control over the individual. That is known as corporatism. as a definition, it's group control over an individual politically, religiously, and economically. I'm not really interested in that at this point. I'm a little bit further beyond that. So I've spent the last 4 years, going on 5 years here now, dealing with extreme corruption down here in Pagosa Springs. I actually did do what Chris advised people to do, and that was get involved in local politics. My educational background is in constitutional law, political science, and religious studies with an emphasis in pre-law. I never actually went to law school. I was given a full ride scholarship for that and turned it down due to ethics concerns. The ethics concerns that I had were that I was about to practice fraud on a daily basis. So when the country shut down during COVID, people were turned away medically. They were not allowed to get treatment at the beginning of COVID, and I helped provide that solution actually with my mom, who is a surgical nurse, and told people to take ivermectin. I was ridiculed and ostracized completely, but it saved lives. And so I was willing to take that personal hit. As time continued, I really couldn't take what was going on with the COVID shutdown, and I ended up writing I call it a little ditty, but it's a little 56-page pamphlet that I wrote back in 2021 called How Medical Tyranny Murdered the United States Constitution. I am historically a legal researcher, so I do enjoy learning about constitutional law, Supreme Court rulings, and legal definitions. So we have an issue in this country where the entire court system is working illegally. And I wrote about that in How Medical Tyranny Murdered the United States Constitution. It is an educational, factual, like historically factual with evidence that anybody can look up at any time, proof that the United States federal government is working outside of the Constitution. So that is why I don't agree with having a government, because a government is a contract, and contracts always have what are called legal holes and gaps. And at some point in time, they become illusory and therefore void. So the other issue that I have is when you create a government, you are creating a third entity from two sovereign entities. And that third entity doesn't actually have to follow what it is meant to be doing. So that's how we got to where we are. And I write about that in my little pamphlet. The second book that I have been working on, I ended up having acute kidney failure over the summer, so my publication date has gone way back. But it was a 21st century guide on how to be a voluntarist. And it gives you an idea of what I've been doing here the last 4 years in regards to running for local office, fighting extremely corrupt government, doing statistical analysis on your community, because the number one issue that we're facing here, it's not just media, it's not just government, it's not just elitists, it's not just billionaires, it's not the cabal, it's not just Jewish people, it's everyone. Okay, so you have to do a statistical analysis on everyone, and actually find out who is for the corruption, who is not for the corruption, how much freedom you have around you. And I call that your box. Okay. And then I have a little picture here. I don't know, Stephen, can I share it?
Absolutely. So yeah, just go to present. Yeah. And bring it up. I know you sent it here in the do you want me to do it, or would you like to? Here, let me open it up real quick, because you sent me that link.
Well, the link is actually, I'm just going to share my screen here.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Entire screen share.
It should say present on the bottom, and then I'll add it to the stage.
Okay. That's weird. It's not letting me. It says
Do you want to? You have my email. Do you want to email it to me real quick?
Email. Hold on. What's your email? Anyway, I can put this in for later for a link, but basically I have 6 steps that a person can take who is an anarchist, who has to acknowledge the fact that they are living in a constitutional republic. As much as we want to ignore our surroundings and be in denial, we can't. Actually, when you go through like the 12 steps for Alcoholics Anonymous, the number 1 step is admitting that you have a problem. So I'm a strategic consultant. My job is to find solutions for people. I am a certified Scrum Master, so I work in teaching people, facilitating them, mentoring them, and coaching them in finding their solutions. So there are 6 steps that you can take, and the first is the garden box. You've actually got to start being self-sufficient, as everybody's been talking about on here. Basically, this eye of the storm, the controlled demolition, they're looking to basically squeeze out as much money from you as they possibly can, while also getting more power and control. So basically, they're trying to leave you broke. That's what's going on here. And then they're going to wipe you out. So that's what's happening. And you need to be self-sufficient. Start getting your garden box together. Then you've got your money box. You've literally got to start doing things in the agorist environment. You cannot continue to allow the government to control what you spend, how you spend, where you spend it, when you spend it. Like, it's over for them. They don't get control. For me, I don't vote. So I did not vote, but I was happy with the outcome that it was Donald Trump. And I'm not worried about tariffs because I don't really need to buy that much stuff, to be honest with you. So I'm not too worried about that myself. Once you get yourself set up, you have to go out and find who your people are. You have to find your social box. So yeah, I'm probably not like the most beloved person here in town. Explaining to the town that a solid, and I mean this, like a solid 60% of people here are part of a corrupt game, and 40% of us are the working class who just have to eat it. And so I do know, though, that 40% of the town actually really, really likes me. And the solution here is to continue telling the truth, to be an honest person, to be upright, to be a good person in good standing. So that's really important. Then you can get up on your soapbox and you can start calling out the corruption yourself, because you're just, a normal person out there gardening and taking care of your life out at your house. And now you can call out the corruption for what they're doing. That brings together your social box. You all go to the ballot box. Okay. And you vote in one of your anarchist friends who's basically saying, I want the government to follow the rule of law. I am not going to raise your taxes. I am going to do literally what the law is telling me I am supposed to do. For example, the county has like 7 services that they're supposed to provide, like health and human services, water services, sanitation, things like that. Bare minimum, that is it. And then you get people to question whether the legalization of counties and delegating congressional powers from the state government is actually legal. That'll make people think. And you turn off the idiot box. For the love of God, turn off your TVs. They're lying to you. They're totally controlling everybody. And so the way that we can de-radicalize people is by actually presenting the truth to them on a silver platter. They need it, okay? And provide them with the evidence that they need in order to just, wake up at 3:00 in the morning in a cold sweat thinking about it, because their subconscious has set off an alarm, and then ask them to turn off the motherfucking TV, for the love of God, and realize that it's not just the people at the top. It's all the way down to the bottom. And yes, it is your neighbor. Mm-hmm. But the best thing that we could do to get past this is a working together agreement. So if you cannot create a working together agreement with another individual, it's time for you to go your separate ways. They're not part of your team. And that's just the way that it is right now. But if you can find somebody that you have a working together agreement with, even if it's on one thing, 2 things, 5 things, shit, wouldn't it be awesome if it was 20 things? That would be amazing. Okay. That's where we need to get to. And if we just start with one thing that we have in common, sooner or later, we're going to go through a cycle of perfecting that where we're going to want to add a second thing, a third thing, a fourth thing, and so on. And that's how we heal as people. But we cannot continue to allow the government to be like to say what we are. Fuck that. That is so ridiculous. So I don't need them to tell me what I need to buy, what I need to learn, who I need to talk to, what I'm not allowed to say. I'm so tired of it, and you should be too.
I don't think anybody can
Yep.
argue with what you just said, Rachel. I mean, it it's about taking. It is about being sustainable. It is about being in good standing, and I think you even touched on something that I talk a lot about. That we even just brought up earlier in the show. We need to put the path of the good person back in the forefront of our societal norms. We need to start being better to each other. Number one, I think that alone would bring a lot of things into good standing. And I mean, you have done one thing I'll definitely tell you, you've done one hell of a job down there in Pagosa Springs. I know, and it's
for statistical evidence. It's so that I can figure out what the hell is going on here. I mean, if you can't figure it out, go to the math. Math never lies. It's a universal language, right? Math is the universal language. Everything is created with math. Every single country does math the same exact way. 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. So if you can't figure it out, always go to the math. Figure out the equation, figure out the problem. That's what's going on here. So, I had to do it. I didn't think I had much of a choice, and I'm happy that I did do it. I can figure out how to explain this to other people. Do I think that that's going to make a difference? Man, I'm kind of jaded after 4 years of being told to go fuck myself by a bunch of greedy criminals. You know what I'm saying?
I can
It
understand.
sucks.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a better outcome for everybody else, though, for sure.
And I'm with you, and it does suck, especially you've been kind of on the front lines of a lot of very interesting things. For anybody who's listening, I will again link all of the shows with everybody when we get done with the live stream, so you can check everybody out. Number one thing, we're gonna move to Andrew Urban. Thank you for being so patient, dude. You're the man too. We will get to you next. And I want to say thank you to everybody for being so patient. This is a very big panel, and we're all kind of speaking our minds here. We're kind of, delivering our opinions, our viewpoints on what a potential solution is. And I want to say I really appreciate the respect in this room at this point in time, between everybody too. And it's great. This is where it starts, guys. This is where it starts. We're sitting here and we're discussing this. And we're going to build from this as we move forward, because this is about ideas and putting things into effect at this point in time. We've seen a very huge human psychological component go on. This collective has consistently tried to solve problems with the same mentality that has caused the problems. And we can no longer do that. And this is a big step that we're taking tonight by even doing this panel. So Andrew, let's get you up real quick. Let's hear what your potential solutions are going to be, and then let's get Urban on, and then we'll hop back to Mr. Black Pill and Mr. White Pill.
All right, cool. I want to touch base with Rachel offline, because so much of what you say resonates with sort of my beliefs. I heard, I think it was you or someone else, say that there's just this potential mass sort of awakening on the horizon. And I do think that's sort of the case. I've heard other conscious community creators talk about the new earth. I do think that is going to happen in our lifetime, but it's not going to be like a physical divide of the planet. We're going to share the physical reality with these other people, and it's going to be a mindset sort of thing. And in the realm of solutions that's going to help usher this in, it is us building parallel institutions. The old institutions, they've been infiltrated, they are just on their decline. What we need to do is build new ones, but with a conscious mindset as we're building these institutions. I'm a huge fan of a gentleman named Buckminster Fuller. He was a futurist, a philosopher, wrote a really cool book called The Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. I think we should look at Earth as a spaceship, but a spaceship that has the ability to regenerate the necessary resources for us to live beyond fathomable generations. Something that Alex and Sneath brought up, their American Capitalist Party, that's perfect, because that can work exactly in conjunction with what Rachel is trying to do, which is essentially us infiltrating some of the old systems to break away maybe some of the rust, to break away some of the pieces that are going to hold us back, to enable us to create something that we talked about previously, this concept of, I call them freedom zones. I know everybody has thought of their own sort of version, but areas that are free from essentially government. I like the critique that Alex and Sneath brought up about the fact that we have foreign adversaries. That is something I would love to talk to you two about, at another time as well, because that's a very valid critique. I agree with you. But I think if we move towards the end goal of a lot of us buying land, building communities with our neighbors, literal relationships with our neighbors. And ultimately, to finish off, I want to touch on the personal development piece. Everybody has said personal accountability, personal accountability. That's huge. I'm also inspired by a Socratic concept of a philosopher king. I think us as men, and then also as women too, you could be a philosopher queen. We should aspire to be the absolute best versions of ourselves, not just for ourselves and not just for our family, but for our communities. You could also see this as like the Jesus archetype, the Buddha. Nietzsche had the Ubermensch, the Superman. I think that is what we should strive for. I just want to end with this quote from the Tao Te Ching.
Yes.
What
Thank you,
is,
Andrew, for that.
yeah, what is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? So many of us, I'll end it there. I'm going to end it there. Thank you.
No, dude, you're the man. I love that you brought that in there because you know how much I lean towards Taoism with a lot of different things, and that's a very valid point. And it is, man. The one thing I think we're all coming into a common agreement here tonight is personal accountability. And I think really that's where we can start. That's where we can build off of. We can become more involved. I mean, like Rachel fighting the corruption, then down in Pagosa, Andrew talking about buying land, being more with, and building communities and being, on a show, Andrew and Andrew is somebody who officially made me happy and celebrate being a nobody, because it's a good thing. And, being kind of like that community hero, like you're the guy who goes and fixes like the old lady and the old man's fence because they can't fix it. Like that's where the real stuff is, right there. That's where the real deal is. It isn't about going out and acquiring this fame or doing things like that, or trying to get as many followers as you possibly can. No, that's defeating the purpose here of what we're trying to achieve. And it starts for it, and call it hippy dippy, call it spiritual you want. It all always starts from within, and that's just a constituent that we see, and it's that internal change within us all. And I agree with what what you were saying too about being a philosopher king, a philosopher queen. Why can't we be a nation full of thinkers and workers? Like, you know, like that's definitely something I think that we need to turn the tide on. And you know, let's throw that Rockefeller shit out the window. We're done with that. So Urban, let's get to you real quick, and then we'll hop to Black Pill and then White Pill, and then we'll do some closing thoughts. I don't want to keep you guys all night. I know some of you guys have some responsibilities. And let me tell you this, Andrew, you definitely want to talk with Freeman and Sneath. They are living that life right now. They have the land. They have emus that constantly escape. It seems like it's a they do a great job though, man. So yeah, you guys definitely want to link up, and you know where to find Rachel. You can find her on my friends list, man, and swing her a message too. Let's start connecting with each other more. I love that, and I think that's what we need to do. So Josh, let's hear what you got to say, my man. Let me throw some credit to Josh real quick. Josh has done a lot for the community. Not a lot of you all know about him, but he has been making these databases and these libraries of all of this information that they are trying to scrub off of the internet. He has been taking initiative, man, ever since I met this guy. And this is what gives me hope. Josh is only, you're 24 still, right? Or you're
25.
You're 25 now? Yeah, man. So when I met Josh, I was immediately impressed. I'm just going to put it that way. And he has been doing the community such a solid by helping save this information, making sure it doesn't get wiped out. It doesn't fall prey to the scrubbing that's going on at this time. So Josh, let's hear what you think some viable solutions are at this point to kind of help, unify us a little more without the influence of government, and potential solutions for what we can do moving forward from this time to take that personal accountability and to kind of start evolving more as a collective.
Let me just say, I've had a little bit of a pleasure tonight to sit here and listen to everyone, because I'm kind of at the end of the line, which is fine. I've sat here and I've just kind of jotted down little bullet point notes based on what I've heard from everyone. And I wish I would have wrote down exactly who said everything, but you'll know who you are. So I just wrote down these bullet point notes, things that caught my mind. And I'm really impressed with everyone that's joined us tonight. Everyone's got a lot to say. And really what just comes to my mind is that no matter what side you're on, no matter what you believe inside yourself, we got people who actually have the capability to think tonight. And I'm not trying to diss anyone or talk negatively, but it really is sad to me to see how many people just don't think beyond what they're told. They just listen to what's on the TV, what's on the news networks. It's sad to me. But everyone that we've had join us tonight seems like they've got the capability to at least think about what's going on around them. First thing I wrote down for what I wanted to mention, somebody said that it still feels controlled, and absolutely, that's exactly the way I would describe it. It does feel a little bit controlled still. I mean, no matter what you want to believe, Franklin Roosevelt, President of the United States, said that no matter what happens in politics, it was planned that way. It was, no matter whatever happens in politics, it was planned to be that way. And so the way that I see it is that there's so much money, so much time, so much effort, billions and billions of dollars. It would be ridiculous for us to believe that what's going on is completely and utterly random. I mean, is it controlled 100%? Is it controlled 70%? It doesn't matter. People have invested a lot of money to control these events to get them to work out to their goals on both sides. Trump being controlled. I mean, it would be ridiculous to believe that Donald Trump makes it to the Oval Office. To believe that anyone is capable of making it to the Oval Office without having a little bit of control delegated to somebody else. The way that I look at this, based on what I've looked at, it's very likely that Trump has a blackmail tape with somebody somewhere. I mean, he was on Epstein Island. He was friends with all of these people that have been exposed as sexual predators. Let's say Trump is not involved. He probably has got some type of blackmail file being held somewhere. There's a lot of different, where could that file be being held at? There's a lot of different explanations to that. But somewhere, I do believe that he is subservient to somebody, because I don't believe that you can actually make it to the Oval Office without being subservient to somebody. If I was the most powerful person in the world, you could bet your ass I would not want to go to the Oval Office. So I would find somebody that is going to do what I say, and I'll send him to the Oval Office with my billions of dollars. I'm really sorry. I wish I would have credited people for who said this, but I was just kind of jotting them down as they came to mind. Somebody said that it's this idea that we all want it to be real, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's this idea that we're watching what's going on, and we really want it to be real. We want, oh, Donald Trump's probably the better of two candidates. Is that true? Is that's not? It's not what I'm talking about. Let's say that I think, okay, the election's over with, it's done with. Let's just hope Trump could be the person that we need right now. We all want it to be real because we all got a stake in this. We're all American citizens. To a certain extent, this is our posterity's future. If you're a parent, if you're not, this is our posterity's future. When we die, this is what we're going to leave to our uh, inheritance, the people we leave the world to. So we want it to be real, but at the end of the day, they've applied this scientific approach to it. It's fascinating. The fact that a part of me really believes that they've invested so much money and so much time into this, that they know how to play us that way. They know that we want this to be real. So, how can we maximize the gain from letting the people think this is real? For instance, today I believe Vladimir Putin says something about this is the end of the New World Order. Trump won, and so this is the end of the New World Order. And I'm just sitting here thinking, are you really think I'm going to believe that? This has gone on for hundreds of years, and you think that Donald Trump winning is the end of the New World Order. If you believe that, then you really need to investigate the evidence around you, and you need to ask some more questions. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say you're right. But I'm definitely going to say I don't believe you have the whole scope of the situation. Let me just, somebody had mentioned the central bank digital currencies, and I just jotted down, according to the research that a good close contact of mine, Pastor Corner, has done, the way we are looking at this is that XRP, which I believe is Ripple, is the highest contender for the next central bank digital currency. Once it becomes valued at $1, it's very likely that the Fed will implement that as the CBDC of choice. And at the end of the day, you've got J.D. Vance, who's actually from the same area that I am. J.D. Vance is a member of Yale's secret society, Skull and Bones.
Oh boy.
And so he's been mentored by Peter Thiel. And if you do a little bit of research into Peter Thiel, you'll figure out that he's on the Bilderberg Group committee and that he's very highly involved in central bank digital currencies. So if this was an installation, if Trump was to be installed, it'd make a lot of sense that J.D. Vance would be right there, not in the spotlight, but off to the side so that he could dictate orders from the Bilderberg Group. And, if Trump doesn't make it the full 4 years, that J.D. Vance would be in control. I think no matter what's going to happen, J.D. Vance is going to be Trump's successor. Trump has not got another term. This is his final term. He'll serve 8 years. I think J.D. Vance is a good talker. He's got good skill politically. I think he'll be the one that they're going to groom to be Trump's successor. The idea of a controlled demolition, somebody said the Trump controlled demolition of the United States. That's a perfect way to put it because that is exactly what I see to be happening. What's happening is, for instance, if you're out driving your car and your car has got a blown hose, you're going to wrap duct tape around the hose of your car and you're going to try to make it home so that you can fix it. At the end of the day, all the people at the top of Wall Street, they're really just wrapping duct tape around this whole thing. The whole thing is literally failing, and they're just trying to keep it afloat long enough that they can get their wealth out of the country. So they don't want to keep their wealth in dollars. They most likely want to transfer their wealth to China, to one of the Eastern countries, which is going to be, in my opinion, the next economy to grow. This happens approximately once every 500 years. Once every 500 years, they'll transfer the wealth to the other side, and they'll just try to balance the black and the white. So I believe they're trying to get their wealth out of the country, and they're really just trying to keep this broken car going at the end of the day. They're really the only way that I can compare it. You're out and you're trying to get home, you wrap some duct tape around the blown hose of your car, and you try to make it home.
That's a good analogy, man. That's a good Urban. Let me tell you what, man. I wasn't lying when I said you impressed the hell out of me, dude.
I appreciate
Like, yeah. I wasn't lying, man. Urban is the forefront leader of this in the younger generation, man, and he is doing a fantastic job. I'm not bullshitting you, dude.
Sure, no,
Thank you for all
seriously, at
that.
the end of the day, everything that I'm saying right now, everyone else that's been in here with us has helped me form it, because I really have to say, I'm just reading off bullet points right now. Everyone in here, and again, I really am sorry that I didn't exactly say who said what, but everyone that's joined us today, I've really just been kind of taking what you said. I've just been writing down these little bullet points, because I'm thankful that I truly don't care if you're on the right, the left. I really don't care. What you're saying tells me that you have got competence and that you're questioning what's going on around you, and that is at the end of the day, it's all that I really care about.
I'm
Somebody,
with you. I'm
go
with you,
ahead.
man. Yeah. No. Finish up. Yeah.
I'm almost done. Somebody
No,
brought
you're
up
all
the
good.
definition of insanity: to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. And at the end of the day, the way that I'll read that is that that's true. That's exactly what we're doing. For instance, I have grandparents who are in their 70s, 80s. They've been around long enough to know that the way this works is that one person gets into office and they say they're going to fix everything, and it don't happen. And then the next side, they alternate back and forth. The next side says they're going to fix everything. They get in office, they don't fix it, and back and forth and back and forth. That's just the way it's been ever since they've been alive. Before they've been alive, so it truly is insanity. And let's say nothing more than the fact that by the definition of insanity, we know that to a certain degree the American public is insane. This process that we keep taking ourselves through is an insane process. I'm not saying anything about the individual. I'm saying that all of us together collectively, by allowing this to continue, it's just an insane process. And we've all been through insane process. The person who, let's say a person who drinks too much. I mean, that's an insane process. So this is a very common process that happens on the individual level, happens on the societal level. But we are perpetuating an insane process. I mean, to think that this process is ever going to benefit us, the people that work jobs, that go to work every day, that are struggling to make it by, we don't have money to donate to the campaigns, nothing like that. So to believe that this is ever going to benefit us into a higher economic group, it's insane. And I think there needs to be some type of consideration for that. I mean, I don't necessarily know what would be the answer. I don't know. But I do believe that we are continuing an insane loop, and to believe that we're ever going to fix the issues going through this loop, it is insane.
I agree, man, and that was a really good way to put it, because and that's why I've always used the trying to shove a square peg into a circle hole analogy. It's quite literally what we've been doing. It's like why not reach for the right peg, or at least try to attempt to formulate what the right peg could be for the hole. So I mean, it's a simple analogy, but at the same time, I mean, it works, because it is almost weird. It is insanity perpetuating this, man. Thank you. All right, Mr. Black Pill Phil, and then we got White Pill next. What do you think some solutions are? Some viable solutions to the current predicament that we are in, and what can we do to move forward? One thing I'm going to add that, I think that is occurring here tonight also, man, the biggest threat to what's going on right now is all of us finding some kind of unification without their influence. What happened to everybody in the past who tried to do this? Yep, they came by, and they wanted to kill the people who tried to unify everybody without the influence of government. I mean, it's so that with that alone, we can look at this and be like, this is definitely one of the biggest threats to them. If we find some kind of common goal as a collective that throws the ball into our court, that makes them at that point subject to us. And that's going to be eventually what will hopefully happen. I mean, it's something I'm trying to do here, and I think we're not off to a bad start. I think we're doing pretty good right now. So, Mr. Black Pill, Mr. Kyle, let's hear what you have to say, man.
just to be completely transparent and honest, I'm the wrong person to ask for solutions. I mean, I live in the high desert in a village of maybe 1,500 to 2,000 people here, and we all keep to ourselves. I mean, yeah, we got a community page. We communicate with each other or whatever. And when shit hits the fan here with the snow or fire evacuations, things like that, people really, really do help out around here when disaster comes. But as far as like the normalcy day to day, you know, everything in between, there's not much here. It's not much to build off of. I think a lot of people just came to this area, including me, to escape cities, to escape, get out of these major populated areas for whatever reason. My reasoning was, you know, living in Oakland at the time, I had a bad feeling come over me. Intuition. That's probably the first thing that I want to, you know, that's my internal bullet point, is really, really pay attention to your intuition, like downloads. It feels like downloads just come to you. If you ever feel like, you know, you have like a download where it feels like something internally is trying to speak to you and tell you how to strategize and game plan out of a current situation, listen to it, or resonate off of it, if that makes sense. But as far as, you know, trying to get everybody to come together and finding a peaceful resolution other than them falling in line because, well, obviously they're the experts. They've been in control of this structure for however long this is, you know what I mean? It's not just, you know, since 1776 or anything. This is centuries long, centuries, thousands of years long, thousands upon thousands of years. And I'm completely clueless how to, like, before 2000, not before the year 2000, but from 12,000 BC until now, how did they, without rulership, did they it just seems like everything's always been under rulership, and it just I just don't see a way out of rulership. I hate to be the fucking bummer of the party. It's just I'm currently, and it might change down the road. It just feels currently that I have to adapt in certain ways to their structure and how they see fit, and just keep guard, be an observer, and if I have some small streams of opportunity come my way, which I don't see it coming my way right now, then I'll take it. But man, dude,
Kyle, I want to tell you something real quick, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your perspective, man. And you know, it's your in your own way, you're being realistic, and nobody can blame you for that, you know. And
well, here, let me interrupt you here. I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you here.
No, you're all good, man.
Just for a moment. And I'm talking from like, you know, self-sufficiency, and I'm only talking about my surroundings. For everybody else, it's going to be different. Like the food shortages, there's you know, we're still under mass what's that shit called, grand solar maximum. I mean, I was talking with somebody last night in my community where her plants are getting burned up and they're not even near the window. Like everybody's vegetation here is getting fucking fried from the sun. And I know that we're coming off the peak grand solar maximum, but things like that are affecting your livestock, your vegetation. The only probable way that you can grow off grid or on grid, so to speak, here is if you grow in your garage. So if you can grow in your garage and you got a garage, grow in your garage with hydroponics, whatever the fuck. I can't afford that shit. I had to let go of some of my livestock that I relied on for food just because of budget, and everything's just out of control. So this is why I'm like, everybody's going by personal accountability. Yeah, that's great. I totally 100% agree with that. It is everything that I have done here for my life. It all comes down to it is my fault. I lost livestock. I had to let go of livestock. I had to, I don't have a realization of how to grow shit. I can learn anytime. I got plenty of resources, but I'm like, I don't really eat vegetables, dude. I'm a meat eater. And I just lost livestock because the hay and the feed that it takes to put into livestock, that has gone exponentially out of fucking control. I can afford it when I can, and then I can't because of I got to eat. It's got to be convenient, and it's like when you think about being self-sufficient, it's supposed to be cheap, but right now it's not. It's not, and I don't know if it's ever going to be because they're going after farmers too. And even though Trump is in office, yes, farmers stand a chance. But with everything external outside of that, where I'm talking, shit that we really can't control with the sun, it's fucked a lot of things up here.
Guys, I want to
On top of
announce
that, so
something
it's
real quick.
I'm
You guys
baffled.
I'm
Yeah.
with you, man. I want to. So X booted our stream. I just got a notification here on my
That's
That was
StreamYard
probably, that was probably
that
me.
X
Way to
X
start the
just
new fucking era.
X just
Hey, who
booted
was
our
it that got
stream,
us
dude.
booted off? I want to give you a pat on
Is
the
it
back.
'cause we
Whoever got
said
us
the
booted
G
off, thanks.
word?
I want.
I'm dead serious. So
He wants a
I got a
fag.
notification here on StreamYard that X discontinued the stream. They don't know if it's a problem on their end or what, but man, we must have set off some kind of alarm bell of some kind tonight, because this is the first time ever. I've been streaming to X now for the entire second season, and X just booted this stream. So yeah, this is
I may have brought up the Jews a couple times.
I said the J word. Yeah.
dude, oh my god. But yeah, but
Ridiculous.
nonetheless, dude,
Yeah.
this is wild. I've never had X boot a stream.
Bad now.
We're
This communist BS is bad now. I got a strike for seriously, I gotta say this. This is too good not to say. For approximately a 10-second Fox News excerpt that said, quote unquote, the CDC has admitted that the COVID vaccines have a higher than average amount of side effects. I got a strike for medical misinformation. My channel is about to get deleted.
dude, man. I had to throw that out there because I'm sitting there looking at this, and that's why you kind of heard the intro cue up for a sec, because they gave me the message. So I went over there for a second to check it out. And they booted the stream right off of Josh after Josh's introduction. They just ceased it, and freaking I don't it's Josh, you did it. It's your fault, god damn it. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you. That means we did something tonight that they did not like, apparently. But Kyle, no, I'm with you, man. When it comes to self-sustainability, when we look at things, it can start to feel expensive. I agree with that. And one thing I think we can do as well, because I know you have livestock, Freeman and Sneath have land, and they do. I mean, Rachel has land. There's a lot of ideas we can come up with together to make it happen. So I think there's perspectives we can shift, and we can find new ways to do things. I mean, one of the biggest things that I saw, and then we'll get to Josh and we'll get to closing statements, is, you can do a electric-free AC system for your home. And it's actually relatively simple. It just works on compressing air. And a lot of people in India are using them at this point in time to, you know how stupid hot it gets over there. And a lot of people don't have working AC. So they're using this air compression system Essentially what it is you take a piece of plywood, you drill out holes, and you take soda bottles. And what you do is you cut off the bottom of the soda bottle, and then you poke a hole in the top with the lid, and you screw it to the board, and you put it in your windowsill. So what happens when you blow on your hand with a closed mouth, as opposed to blowing on it with an open mouth, when you compress the air becomes cooler. So this has been like a way that people have been cooling their homes without electricity and actually getting like a good effect. So there's tricks of the trade, and I think we have to kind of put our heads together and dive a little deeper, man. But I feel you, dude. The solar maximum thing is a very real thing. I had Ben Davidson on the show back in season 1. I mean, he talks about the solar micronova potentially being a thing that could occur. Think of a massive solar flare or a massive hiccup from the sun that shoots a giant plasma sheet directly at our planet. So I mean, it's a possibility, 100% a possibility, man. That there's
I feel it. I feel its effects, dude.
Dude, the creepy part about that is it runs on the Mayan long count calendar. The cyclical nature of this event. So it runs off of 12,000 year cycles, and it's actually half the precession of the equinox too. So it's a little wild in that aspect. But Josh, Mr. White Pill, let's get your solutions if you have some in mind, and let's get to some quick closing thoughts. And before we get to Josh, I want to say I appreciate all of you. I think everybody tonight brought something amazing to the table. We're in very interesting times. We can't say that enough. X just booted my stream for the first time ever. So, I guess I'll wear that as a badge of honor just as much as when Jay Dyer blocked me. So that was a hell of a badge of honor right there too. So, all right, Josh, let's hear what you have to say, man.
So I'm going to go a bit against the grain here. And I'm going to go ahead and first off, straight up, it's all about health and education. You need to focus on health before you can focus on education.
Yep.
And the big thing that kind of strikes me right now is the fact that I want to straight up say that I cannot claim personal accountability. I cannot rule personal accountability. And the reason why is simply due to the fact that we have children that are being born with microplastics in their system straight from the womb. There is no personal accountability to that. They have no control as to how it is that they are born in that particular condition. So we also have phenomenon where we have undocumented, I wouldn't say undocumented, but we have uncontacted tribes, human tribes, all throughout the world in various regions, and they haven't evolved past just chucking fucking sticks at each other and throwing rocks at each other. And it's just like, why haven't these people progressed to Wakanda status? Why haven't these people, created some sort of actual like societal framework outside of their tribal nature? I really do think that there are outside influences, and I do think that there are outside things that are affecting every single thing. As to what degree, as to what level, I couldn't tell you. As far as, for example, somebody was talking about math being the universal language. I don't think math is the universal language. If you were to come over to me and say 2 + 2 is 4, that doesn't mean dick to me. That doesn't mean shit. Ben Shapiro was completely wrong about the facts don't care about your feelings. No. My feelings don't give a shit about your facts. That's just all there is to it. I don't care. If somebody were to come to me very hyper aggressively shouting in my face that 2 + 2 = 4, I'm going to treat that as aggression, regardless of 2 + 2 actually equating to 4. And the other issue too with that entire argument is the fact, who created the numbers? We created the numbers as a placeholder to represent value. And while there are certain aspects to it, I would argue that music is the universal language. To be able to sit there and produce these resonant frequencies, to produce these sorts of harmonies. I mean, you can walk into a room and you can see somebody's aura, you can feel somebody's aura, you can see what their presence is, you can gauge what they are and who they are without even saying a word. And that's something that, I think a lot of people have that subconscious ability to do so. But I think, again, because of the health issues, a lot of people are it's becoming null, it's becoming void, it's becoming dull. Because as I ironically sit here and guzzle down my high fructose corn syrup over here, um, I think there's a poisoning that's going on. I think there's a mass poisoning that's happening. And as to if it's intentional, if it's unintentional, I couldn't tell you. But I do think that health and education are definitely some of the most important factors. And when it comes to education, the biggest aspect of education is your self worth. For example, just a couple of days ago, I was over at some megalomaniac mansion and, just swapping out a windshield for his fucking Cadillac Escalade. And I mean, this guy's, living it up out in Danville, California, big time tech money. And it was literally the day after Halloween. And me and my coworker are sitting there kind of joking about it. And we're just like, yeah, if you have a house like this, of course you can hire a whole bunch of Mexicans to do shit. And we were just joking about it. And sure as shit, like we look over, dude, there were like 6, 7, 8 Mexicans like wheeling in Christmas decorations, like decorating the whole house. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, they weren't joking when they were talking about a slave caste. And it's slavery with a little bit of monetization, so that way it's okay. But the biggest problem though with it is the sheer fact that if you talk to those Latinos, and I've talked to quite a few Latinos out here in California, when you talk to them, it's more of this: we work because we have families and we need to provide for our families. It's a very simplistic, straightforward, bam, bam, bam existence. And I understand it. I totally 110% agree with it. It's got to get done, dude. I've got 7 cats. I got to feed those babies. I gotta, you know, and shit. I'm even thinking about having kids hopefully soon, and I totally understand it. But at the end of the day, you have to sit there and you have to ask yourself, like, but is this really how you valued yourself? Is this really like how you envisioned yourself in your 20s or your 30s, lifting up gigantic Santa Clauses into a rich woman's fucking mansion? I mean, that self value, that lack of education to put themselves on a higher level, to appreciate themselves on a higher level, is lacking. You've got that basic fundamental knowledge that's there on, how to survive and how to make it and how to navigate in the world, but that spiritual knowledge, that ability to kind of sit there and gauge your self worth. You're worth a hell of a lot more as a living human being, as a living creature, as a spiritual entity. You are worth a hell of a lot more, and you should be valuing yourself and your time exponentially more than valuing some rich white woman Santa Claus as you shove it into a corner to make her house look festive, you know. But
I'm
that's
with
the
I'm with
problem.
I'm with you,
You,
man.
yeah.
It's I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, man. I'm sorry, but while you were talking, I'm listening. I promise. But I kept
Mm,
trying to restream back to X, and they keep booting the stream.
mm,
Like I'm
fascinating.
dead. I'm dead serious. But no, man.
I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame.
It's I just this is the first time this
Oh,
is.
and
I'm
he.
just
Oh,
gonna.
and White Pill brought up the Talmud.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
that too.
probably the dude. This is absurd to me. Like I've never, I've been streaming on X now for a whole year, and they've never
I think
booted a
that was
single
what it
stream.
was.
I'm wondering, man. I'm wondering. So like I kept trying to re-exit, then restart it, and then it'll start up for 2 seconds, and then it'll just boots me. Just
I think
boots me
he's right.
right
I think it
away.
was the Talmud. I think that's what got you booted.
Probably.
Oh my goodness, man. But nonetheless, guys.
Talmud,
It's,
Talmud, Jewish control, and then what was the third one? Oh, we're shitting all over. We're shitting all over the ceremony that just happened.
Yeah.
Nobody
I
on X wants to hear that. The whole big
Yeah.
party on X wants to hear celebration, celebration.
I
You'd
know,
actually
man.
you'd be
It's
surprised.
yeah,
You'd be surprised by that.
but all right, guys, let's get some closing thoughts. Let's keep them a little bit short. I do got to get up for work tomorrow, so let's start kind of in line. Let's go with Mr. Urban. Let's get some closing thoughts, and then we'll move to Freeman and Sneath, Kyle, Rachel, Andrew, and then White Pill.
I'll keep it relatively simple. I think at the end of the day, I think the only thing that will benefit us as a collective is to continue asking questions about every single thing we see. I think everything we see right now is designed to fool us. I won't say the extent. I won't say how. I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I could tell the future. But I think everything we're seeing now is designed for us, to fool us, to put on a show for us. So no matter what the narrative is, I don't care if it's left, I don't care if it's right, we need to find the holes in the narrative. We need to find the parts of the narrative that we can question it. We need to ask those questions. We need to pursue the answers to those questions. And we need to not let off the heat. Because at the end of the day, if you go back to the founding of this country, the founding of this country was set up on the fact that we would have people like us to grill the government, to question the government, to continue asking questions, to keep the heat on. You know, if you want to go in, you know what the Hegelian dialectic is, this idea of black and white. You know, if you've got the government, which is power, and you've got the mob, which is no power, you've got to balance the two. So the government, our duty in the traditional sense of things under the establishment of this country is that we are going to have to grill the government. That's our duty as citizens. Either you have power, you're a member of the government, you're going to maintain your power, or you're a citizen and your duty to the government is to grill the government on what it's doing. We need to ask questions. We need to not let the heat up, and we need to not be satisfied with what we have all the way. All the way, because at the end of the day, I think everything's controlled to a certain degree. So we just need to be aware. We need to see what was going on around us, and when in doubt, turn on the TV, see what the news is saying, get the consensus on the news, and then just think the opposite. I mean, that's basically the only way I can explain it now. Whatever the news tells you to believe, you just need to think the opposite, because the news is, and they've gone to new lows. I mean, some of the stuff I've heard during this presidential election cycle has just been ridiculous. I mean, you got people going up on the news saying Donald Trump's going to bring back segregation. Come on now. I mean, if you really believe that, I mean, I don't know whose fault it is. Is it the news fault? Is it your fault? But that's just crazy. but
Uh,
but they're getting desperate, so you need to question everything you see.
I'm with you, man, 100%. And it's we can't allow ourselves to fall back into the mob mentality. There's a lot of people in the conscious collective, I feel, that have kind of allowed themselves to kind of fall back into it. And
Before you
we
end, let me go ahead and just leave this quote. I wish I had the proper attribution, but the quote is, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. So people need to live by that. Believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see.
I love that, man, and that's a good note. Josh, I want to thank you so much for being here, dude. You're always welcome here, man. Freeman and Sneath, let's get some closing thoughts. Let's hear what you two have to say about everything at this point in time. And again, thank you two for being here. I know this was a very large panel and a lot of talking, and thanks again for your patience and joining us tonight.
No, absolutely. I think that everybody that was here had a lot that they had to offer, a lot of different perspectives. And I think one of the most important things that we can take away from tonight is how we still have the capacity to respect each other, to listen to one another, even though we have some radically different ideologies, some radically different beliefs on how to fix what's wrong with our country. Obviously, I don't necessarily believe what some of the others believe, and they don't believe necessarily what I believe. But what's important is that we can set those differences aside, to be respectful to each other, to listen to each other. I know that there are a lot of people who really disagree with the government we have right now. Idealistically, it would be wonderful if we could all live together in harmony and nothing ever happened that went wrong and we didn't have other foreign threats to worry about. It would be great. And I think we can all agree that what we have right now is garbage. Personally, I don't ascribe to the idea that just because this is trash right now, that all government has to be trash. And so I think that we, in spite of our differences, can find common ground to work towards things. If you want to start a commune, I'm all for it. Like the American Capitalist Party can help you do that better than what you can do it now. It can facilitate that easier than what you could start a commune with now. And personally, you know, I've been a part of the anarchist groups. I know how much dysfunction is there. I know how much infighting goes on there. We left that years ago because it just seems like the same arguments over and over. Nothing gets done, nothing gets accomplished. And so we are at a point that the infighting, all of us bickering together, it just allows what is happening right now to get worse and worse and worse and worse.
And that's a casualty of any organizational structure that's dysfunctional. The Libertarian Party, this election cycle, has seen that exact same dysfunction come about, that infighting. I think you're going to see that the Democratic National Party and a lot of the state Democratic parties are going to really start to crumble and have a lot of cracks show because of that infighting. And that's not going to be attributable to one group or ideology or another. It's a dysfunction in that organization and the overall structure that we have to learn from and grow from, and pick the chair up and rebuild.
Yeah, I think that when we left the anarchist communities and we realized that where we're at currently, anarchy is not sustainable, especially with the communities that we have right now and the different ideologies, even just within the anarchist groups. They all have different ideas. Everybody's got a different goal in mind. So for me, I don't see anarchy anymore as being sustainable. And when we left those communities, we started working with our politicians, taking the mentality that the way to change the system is from inside. And taking a line out of SLC Punk. So if you want to change the system, you need to do it from the inside.
And there are certainly ways, and many people here are happy that Trump won. I'm happy that Trump won so that we had a free and fair election. But if he ends up dismantling the Department of Education or the EPA or the FDA or any of the others, great. Smaller government, less government intrusion. Let's get there. And maybe it is Trump, maybe it is the RNC, but it works towards a smaller government, closer to no government. But at some point, even among a small collective in the middle of the desert, there's certainly some sort of common rules of agreed upon respect, engagement, cooperation, especially in times of crisis.
And there's enforcement when people's rights get violated, when those rules get broken, right? There's enforcement there. So for us, we feel that, and we encourage everybody to, check out the site. I'm not saying you have to love it, but I certainly feel like there's a lot there that people can identify with, and people can say, you know what? Yeah, I could see this working. Even if you don't necessarily believe that government is great, I think we can all agree that the more we can weed government out of our personal lives, the better things are for everybody.
And find those 1 or 5 or 20 things of agreement that we can work together on.
Support each other. Yeah.
Exactly. And the one thing, while we might have some different ideologies here tonight, we do share one thing in common. We're fed up with this shit. I mean, it's just that's something we can build a foundation on. And we all want true freedom, and we all want the ability to lead our lives without government intrusion. So those are commonalities that we can focus on, and those are big things. And like I said, I've said, like right now we have bigger. We can argue about if you think the Earth is flat or not later. Okay, that's the mentality I'm taking at this point. Like, yeah, we can discuss that after we tackle what's in front of us. Then we can debate all you want if the Earth is a square, or whatever, at that point. So, I like that, and I like you guys' mentality too when it comes to that. And I understand where you're coming from too. And there has been a gross disorganization in the anarchist community. There has been a lot of infighting. And like we've spoken about this before. It could be half and half. Some organic, some infiltration. Like it could potentially be that. And I mean, you do have the infiltration that's playing off of human psychology and human nature at that same time. It knows the human psyche. It knows how we function. It knows how to push our buttons. So it's like it. So I'm with you guys, and I understand your frustrations with the community as well. Like I share the frustrations. I know Rachel shares the frustrations to me. Like it's definitely you all have valid points, and I love what you two do, and I love that you guys have consistently always stay true to yourselves, man. So thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate that, man. And everybody's getting a recording tonight too, so you can do whatever you like with the show. I just want to let you know if you guys want to air it or do reels, whatever. So Kyle, let's hear some closing thoughts real quick.
Closing thoughts are stay vigilant, stay observant for sure. Everything that Urban said is fucking gold. Just I love hearing what he had to say because I'm like, yeah. And Rachel, fucking platinum shit. I really like what she had to say tonight. Closing thoughts.
Sums it up.
It's going to be a really turbulent ride. Stay hyper focused on, trying to take care of your family, your loved ones, health being number one for sure. Exactly what White Pill said. Do everything that you can to alleviate stress in the sense of, medicinals and try to take care of inflammation, try to look into metabolic disorder, because I assure you this whole grand solar maximum thing that we've experienced fucked a lot of people up. And they think it's just, it's just, it's common to get sick. And I'll say this again, that there's a lot of us that didn't take these fucking arm sauce shots. And we're catching, I thought for a moment, like not just a moment, for a long while there, the shed is prevalent. Sorry, if you can hear my baby puppies in the background, I apologize. They were born like 3 or 4 days ago, so they're kind of screaming for milk.
Oh, it is okay, man. No sweat.
Where I was getting at was where was I getting at here? Somebody repeat back to me what I was just saying. Oh, the arm sauce. Okay, so for a while there, I was like, oh yeah, totally. It's the shed, and then the fucking. I'm like, man, cosmic radiation definitely plays a part in really fucking with the mitochondria in your body. Really disrupts your organ function. And 2 things are playing a role at once. Well, 3 things if you actually have the arm sauce. Some people are feeling it, some people aren't. I'd like to think that I'm indirectly having that problem on the home front here. Next thought is, this is for all of us that are rural. Maybe even White Pill can add into this. He's gone through some livestock changes too. There's some weird shit that's happening for the last few months where I live at. My neighborhood's reporting that there's multiple drone sightings that are just flying over. It's not just like, oh yeah, personal use. You can fly these drones for like 30 minutes to an hour or something like that. I talked to somebody last night that lives down the road from me that's reporting tons of drones just flying around at night, monitoring, red blinking. And this is completely off topic, I know, but this is for all of us that there's a hidden surveillance, I think, that is happening. I don't know what for. I don't know what kind of data they're trying to retrieve from rural areas such as mine. Be very aware of that, because I don't know if they're monitoring our agricultural landscape. I don't know if it's county sending drones to monitor over anybody, for code enforcement, or if this is something else in a sense of, it's still dry season. Uh, I don't want to think that they're sending out attack drones to set fires or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, but there's something really suspicious that's going on. And I'm wondering if it's happening all across the nation. Um, not from like a personal drone use, but from multiple drones just being, flying over. There's people saying that they spotted it just hovering over their house above the power line, just staying stationary for like an hour or longer and then flying off. That's and this is like, from what I gather, this has been going on since April this year. So look into county, look into your local government to see if they're doing flyovers to monitor anything. Like if you're growing vegetation, growing vegetables, like a vegetable bed, are there community gardens? Look for drones in the sky, whether that's during the day or just if you're just hanging around at night, not doing shit, just feeding, watering the animals, or just taking the dog for a stroll. Pay attention to what's going on up there, because I think there's something really suspicious going on, and I can't tell. Like God, dude, it feels like it's blending like targeted individuals, targeted communities, maybe.
I don't disagree with you. There is something strange going on. I'm with you, man. And it is. Be observant right now. I mean,
yeah, number one overall. Yeah.
Be observant, man. Plausible deniability is a real thing. I can't say that enough. And a lot of this stuff, even though maybe at this point in time we per se might not necessarily be able to prove it solidly to people. At the same time, we're experiencing this. We know something's going on, and maybe in the future, that's a puzzle I'm working on trying to crack right now. I've got about 3 to 4 pieces of it, but this puzzle has probably about over 10,000 pieces. We're going to put it that way. And it's been done intentionally that way. So, but I will keep digging for you, man. Agreed. Rachel, let's get some closing thoughts from you real quick.
Woo, where to begin? Gosh. All right. Well, I just want to say I love music, but music actually uses math in a myriad of different ways. So math still wins out. So I'm going to use math here to describe why there's dysfunction in the anarchist community, because of course there is. But there's dysfunction in every community and every group of people. It's actually Conway's law is how we describe it here in business. Basically, an organization's dysfunction is always going to show up in its product. So when we're talking about who's going to be in charge of our illegal constitutional government, in which our contract, literally the court said, has holes and gaps in it. And the reason why the Constitution has holes and gaps in it is because they knew it would not get ratified by the farmers. And so it was up to the Supreme Court to fill in those holes and gaps. That ruling is called Marbury v. Madison. That was made in 1803. And the Supreme Court gave themselves the power of judicial review, or the power to rewrite the Constitution, to amend the Constitution, and to amend laws from the bench. Okay, so we have a huge issue here where the Constitution is actually illusory, illegal, and technically void. Okay, so when anybody as a group of people is working underneath an illegal and dysfunctional government, their product is going to be dysfunctional. So it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, a Republican, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, or any type of sect of anarchy. You're going to have dysfunction when you have illegitimate control over people. And so that's what we're dealing with. It's Conway's law. All right. So I am a true all the way. I like to go all the way to point A. Do I like hearing the truth? Hell no. There have been times where I've cried for months because I had to listen to the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, man, the truth can be really harsh sometimes. And yeah, of course, I've put my fingers in my ears, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to listen to that. I'm pissed off. I don't want to hear that shit, right? But the truth hurts. And that's just, it's not going to change just because it hurts. It's going to keep on walking down that path of righteousness and truth. You have the choice to follow the truth. You're the individual with that obligation and that responsibility. Do you want to do that for yourself? Do you want to do that for other people? What is the reason why you're taking that responsibility towards truth? Right? So, although I would like to say we're all going to find a solution here, we're going to get that working together agreement. Maybe the working together agreement is agreeing that we actually need to have a constitutional convention so that we can fix the illegal holes in our government. Because I know for a fact, going through as an anarchists don't want to fix shit, right? But neither do statists. Statists don't want to fix anything either, because when you figure it out, Democrats and Republicans are elected into office. They've been elected into office for a majority of this country's lifetime. And they're in charge of writing the election rules. They write their own election rules. So it doesn't matter if somebody is on a primary ballot and that the state tells you that they have to be on a primary ballot and announce their candidacy 90 days before the election, because the courts, who are illegal, have already ruled that if they were to go in and enforce the election rules against the parties, that it would actually violate their right to association. So any type of law that gives you election rules is actually unconstitutional on its face and violates any candidate's right to associate with anybody else. But we have this problem of judicial review and judicial activism, which is underneath judicial review. This is where they literally just whimsically change legal definitions. We have a legal dictionary in this country. It's called Black's Law Dictionary. We have 12 editions of that. When we first started out, it was written in 1881. It had literally 2 definitions of regulation. Now it has 13. The original definition of health was absolute. It was outside of government control. You could not regulate it as the government. Guess who came in and said that they get to do that under general welfare? That would be the Supreme Court, Jacobson v. Massachusetts in 1905. So then we have Citizens United, where it says that corporations are actually superhuman. They get to do just whatever the hell they want, and we're stuck being less than human now. What is that? Individuals always are the bottom. They're the foundation. They're the principle for our freedom, for our governments, for our authorities that we're supposed to be obedient to. And if our authorities are illegitimate, if they are illegal, and they are just full of shit, they're full of shit criminals, they're stealing money from us, they're pedophiles, and they need to stop. And I personally don't want to sign a fucking contract away, my whole life away for this, so that I can give it to them. And I know I'm being emotional, but that's the damn truth about it. Do the math.
I love it, man. I love it. And then the one thing about everybody tonight, man, is we're also passionate about this.
Yes.
Like, you know what?
I hate the government. I love everybody here. Shout out to Alex. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even know Steven, you know? So, like, mwah. I love you guys.
Dude, exactly. So, I mean, this is part of it, man. Like, you know, we have to, you know, the passion that drives us through this. You know, and I was actually talking with Sneath about this the other day. It's like, it's in our genes. Like, you know, like we look kind of like back at our families, and we look at people in our families, and, you know, this has come down like almost like a strange ancestral line. Like, it's in us, it's built in us. And, you know, the number one thing I'm going to say about this is, you know, the fact that we're also passionate. We have a lot of intelligence to bring to the table. We have a lot of great ideas. I mean, this is where it begins. This was big what we did tonight, and you know, and I don't want anybody to think any different. Just like when me and Andrew the other week sat down with the Brothers Blue, two super progressives, as they call themselves, the super progressives, and they think the WEF ain't that bad. They think that Fauci's not a bad guy.
Were they here
Like,
tonight?
I've
No,
actually
I
been
don't.
offering hugs to the local liberals because I can't blame them. They think, oh, the big bad world's coming after me and all these evil people are taking over my lives. Well, welcome to my world. I am a black flag anarchist. I'm literally like 0.01 of 1%. I am such a minority that it hurts me, man. Like every day I wake up hurt as shit, man. If only I could fit in. That'd be nice. Anyway.
If anybody resonates with that, it's me, Rachel. I totally understand. Andrew, let's get your closing thoughts real quick, and then we'll move on to White Pill, and then we are done for tonight.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone for that participated. I feel like I learned stuff, and I also learned some new rabbit holes to explore, and I'm really appreciative of that. This is how we begin to solve problems, is this sort of collaboration. I'm normally not this like optimistic and excited as a person. I'm generally more mercurial. I can be really, really melancholy at times, but being included in this is it's energizing and motivating. So thank you all. I do make YouTube videos, but like I'm not a normal content creator, but I would like to maybe work with you all more, because you all have said things that I wanted to unpack much further, but in this forum is not the best place. So I might reach out to you if I do. Yeah, or you can reach out to me. I would love that, and I'll end it there. Thank you very much.
Guys, check him out. He does great videos, heavyweights, light feels. I love that name, and that was actually one of the things that attracted me to you, man, because that's just a solid name for what you do. It's amazing. And no, Andrew, you are always welcome here. Always, dude. You just hit me up if you want to do a show, man, and we'll get one done.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. All right, Josh. Let's get your closing thoughts, and then we are gonna sign off for tonight.
I'm gonna make it short. Do you know how you break a cycle?
Let's hear how we break a cycle.
You realize it's a spiral. You turn it on its side. You start looking at things in a different perspective. And you know what causes a lot of disorder? Disharmony. I'm leaving it at that.
I love it, man. I love it. Short and sweet. Well, the number one thing I'm gonna say is I think we number one, doing a panel this large was the first time. I think we're gonna do a smaller one next time. But that way it was not a bad test run. It actually turned out way better than I thought it was going to turn out. It wasn't.
Personally, I've loved the opportunity to chat and with everyone here and hear their perspectives, etc. Andrew, Urban, Blackwell, looking forward to possibly talking to you guys more. And again, Stephen, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on and share a little bit with you. Look forward to next time.
Anytime, man. We will be doing a show with just you and Sneath in season 3. Let's get to some dates in January that'll work for you guys. And we will do a solo show on the ACP. And other than that, guys, the number one thing I want to leave everybody with tonight is this was actual progress. It was, I think I've said this ad nauseum, and this is something that I truly feel is real. We have been so hyper conditioned to think that everything is super complex, from our health to government to society. And yes, there are little bits of complexities that do lie there. I'm not going to deny that. But when one of the biggest things I've seen is simplicity is the basis of a lot of this existence. And simple solutions are the beginning to actually achieving the more complex ones down the line. Breaking bread like we did with each other tonight and sitting down and, discussing our different ideas. And yes, while we might have different ideologies, we all truly do rally around a common great goal. And that should be where we put our focus from here on out. You know, like again, like there's, you know, if you think that space Jesus is landing tomorrow and he's going to come and save us, I mean, I'm not disagree. I mean, dude, I mean, it could happen. Who knows? But we can talk about
Quit
that.
talking about me. God.
I'm talking about space Jesus, the one behind the veil.
Right
But
here.
yeah, I know, right? It's like, and but you know, like right now we have bigger things we need to tackle on. You know, we need to focus on, and that's always been my thing. I know sometimes we can get looped back up into the mob mentality of things. We can, you know, get angry at the left, get angry at the right, like, you know, see everything that's going on, man. But honestly, the biggest way we're going to give them the biggest fuck you at this point is to not give them what they want. And they want us divided amongst ourselves. They want us fighting. They want us spinning their wheels. So that's why I think maybe we got booted from X tonight, because they see we're trying to not do that anymore. We're done spinning our wheels. Okay. Like, you know, we want to actually start doing something. And that's a real threat to them, guys. And, you know, the biggest threat that we could do, like I said, is to unify under a common greater goal without their influence, because the strength that we would have would outnumber anything that they could possibly do to us thereafter. So, guys, I'm gonna leave you all with that. Thanks again. If you guys have a sec, let's chill for a sec after I sign off. Let's exchange info. I know a lot of you guys want to, like, you know, talk to each other, link up, kind of discuss things and get some different ideas and perspectives. So let's kind of, like, if you guys can hang for a sec. If not, everybody, you can find everybody here on my friends list. You can find everybody on, you know, Andrew's friends list. I mean, you can't, we're easy to find if worse comes to worse and you can't hang out for a sec. So, all right, guys, I'm going to focus on me for a sec. Just hang out for 1 minute. All right, guys, I think we really got some real progress tonight. You know, this is what even inspired my whole Common Ground podcast I'm going to be dropping on December 11th. So this was honestly a great run for that. You know, maybe not as big of a panel, but nonetheless, guys, this is where it begins. These are the conversations that we need to be having. These are the people we need to be communicating with in our network. Okay, this is how real progress starts. Okay, real progress is not achieved by fighting with your neighbor. Real progress is not achieved by giving the parasite class and the powers that were what they want. Okay, if we denounce the division and we try to find a common ground and an understanding with our fellow human beings here in the United States of America, okay, we will leap miles beyond from where we are today. And this is what they don't want. This is probably why the show got booted from X tonight. Okay, they don't want us unified in the sense that we are right now. This is the biggest threat. You want to change the system, we have to work together. Bottom line. So other than that, guys, I want to thank you all for joining me for this BGcast election special. You know, we will probably be doing another one of these next year. Maybe not for the election, but maybe a touch base with everybody that was here. You know, to kind of go over some of the progress that we've been working on. So other than that, guys, thank you for joining me. If you liked what you heard tonight, give me a follow or give me a like. And other than that, take care, stay safe. And now the awkward pause while the stream